Good evening, guys, and happy Monday to all of your sunshiny faces. So guys, I feel like it is finally starting to, I don't want to say feel like Christmas, but like Thanksgiving's not over, but all of a sudden actually after this weekend sort of hit, like I don't know if it was like, oh, because I was like thinking like my birthday and like Thanksgiving, and like Thanksgiving we still haven't actually had that yet, or like what, but like I don't know why, it just feels really like Christmas to me right now. Like I am like, why is the tree not up yet? Like, why are we not doing Christmassy things? Like that whole kind of stuff. And like I said, it's a week out from Thanksgiving already. And on top of that too, it's really cold out. Like Jack said yesterday, I think it was only supposed to be like 30 something or something like that as like a high today. I don't remember, but he was like, oh, it's supposed to get really cold and like stay cold. I think he's hoping for snow. He loves snow. He loves the cold. He is like like compared to, I feel like also everybody in our house, like I don't really know entirely where my mom stands on like the weather, but you know, and like the seasons and stuff like that. I think my dad's sort of the same with me. We like to do stuff outside, so we want it to be warm out, but when it is that ridiculous like 100 degrees and 90 plus outside, just from standing outside in the sun you start like profusely sweating. Like that is when it is just like, that's too hot outside, and that's what summer sometimes is like, and that part stinks because it's not just like nice, like, you know, like cool, like, you know, even like 80s and stuff like that isn't like that bad, but like when it's like the high 80s, 90s and stuff like that, and the humidity too, which is also really bad. But like I said, I don't really know where my mom like prefers, what her favorite season is really. I really like fall, I think. Like I'm not a huge spring person. I just feel like there's like, I don't know, not a lot. Like fall, I feel like it's also like that anticipation for like the holidays and stuff like that too, sort of sometimes. Like, and that's the only thing that gets me through the winter. Honestly, I don't like the winter. So for me, I think that's like sort of what it is. But like I don't mind it like sort of like coming to an end in the fall. Like I like, as weird as it sounds, like I don't know that I'd say I liked school when I was little, but I actually liked when school started up in the fall. Like, I'd rather have an endless summer, but it was like that sort of, I don't really know, like just a, like changing, like the seasons are changing and your whole, like everything is sort of changing too, like your schedule, you're going back to school, you're, you know, like it's not, again, just like a unlimited sort of like hours in the day and everything like that. It's like you had to plan more because of when you had school and when are you going to hang out with your friends now, and you know, all that kind of stuff, compared to when it's summertime and you're just like, oh yeah, I'm free whenever, you know, or like, oh yeah, like I've got plans, you know, like either like all the time and you're trying to make time, like, you know, that kind of thing. It's like, oh, we can go to, you know, somewhere after school or whatever, that kind of thing. Like I don't know, it was just like I always liked like actually transitioning back into school, really, as weird as it sounds. Like I like that transition into school. I didn't like school, like, and especially was bummed out when it actually happened, but like all of the things that I can remember, like all the memories, like I liked that. I liked going back to school. I just didn't like school, but I liked going back to it. So like I said, I don't know why, that's really weird. But I don't have like a really bad memory of like going back to school. Like for the most part, I always liked school, going back to it, sort of, I guess. Like it was always tough, like, but I guess the reason I liked the going back to school part was that it was always the easy part of school. That was like the easiest, was you didn't get homework like, you know, that first week or two. You know, like the teachers were still learning your name, like, you know, you again were like, it was just like easy, I guess, like in that first like week or so of school, maybe even the first month of school, and then after that was when it all sort of really didn't like it. So maybe that was it too, of like what I liked. But like I said, it was really cold out today, and yes, Jack really likes the snow. I think he's looking forward to that, and I think maybe my mom, sort of like the rest of us too, were like, she wants snow for Christmas, and then after that I don't think she's a really huge fan of the cold either. But she's never like said that specifically, like, oh, I'm like, I hate the cold, or you know, anything like that. Like sometimes she'll just like walk around the house and be like, oh, my feet are cold, I need to go, you know, like get a pair of fluffy socks or put slippers on or something like that, you know. But like like as far as like, you know, oh my gosh, I don't want to go outside, it's too cold to go outside. Normally she's the opposite. I feel like a lot of times she complains because it's too hot, like, oh, I don't want to go outside because it's too hot. So maybe she doesn't like it as much. That's really interesting. I've never thought, like my dad has expressed it, and so has Jack, and I don't really know about Matthew either. I feel like he's definitely on board with like me and my dad, but again, I don't know that I have ever really asked him, but I definitely know that like some of the stuff he says, but again, I've never actually asked, or my mom hasn't like really, again, expressed that either as to like what her favorite sort of like season is, I guess. So mine would definitely probably be summer if it just wasn't so hot. So that's why I kind of have to put fall maybe as my number one. But there's certain times where I'm just like, I can't do anything outside. Like then that's when it's too hot out. I know that I don't think anybody really likes it to be freezing cold outside, like Jack. Jack likes it when it snows. Jack wants it to snow when it's still fall outside, which is not cool. That is reserved for leaves coming off the trees, not snow coming out of the sky. So yeah, but he likes that, and so I think that he is like hoping that we're gonna get snow really soon. And again, it feels really weird. It feels really like close to, like, I don't know why, but the anticipation for Thanksgiving for me right now is sort of that anticipation for Christmas. Like how I feel when I'm like, oh my gosh, like it's almost Christmas. Like I'm already feeling that for Thanksgiving, like sort of that anticipation. And I don't know why, because like it's nothing really special. Like Thanksgiving is just food. And honestly too, the reason I don't like Thanksgiving is because it's all food that I don't like. If we had some kind of crazy spread of all food that I actually liked, and it wasn't like traditional Thanksgiving food, I would love Thanksgiving so much more, but it's all food that I either don't like, can't eat, or it's like straight carbs. And that is it. And I can only eat so much like mashed potatoes. Like that is why. Like to me, it's not a huge big deal of like carbs and all that kind of stuff, but like I just like can only eat so much mashed potatoes on Thanksgiving. And that's what it was for years, until like especially last year too, when Jack was like, oh, I'll make mac and cheese. And I think maybe one Thanksgiving I made mac and cheese, and so that's why like I like was like, oh my gosh, that's such an awesome thing to like, we never do mac and cheese for Thanksgiving. We've never done mac and cheese, I don't think, for Thanksgiving up until maybe last year. And again, maybe like randomly like we've done like mac and cheese. Like if again maybe a couple years ago like I did Thanksgiving, or no, I think it was it was last year, and maybe that was why too. I was like, Jack, we're gonna do mac and cheese, because it's right after my mom's surgery, so I was sort of in charge of making Thanksgiving. And so that's why Jack, I think I told him, I was like, hey, you're gonna make your mac and cheese. I remember doing mac and cheese a lot for Christmas, but I don't think we ever did it for Thanksgiving up until last year. And I'm gonna make that tradition now, because that is one thing that I can actually eat and fills me up, and I actually like, again, something I would like to eat, because I like mashed potatoes. But like, I honestly, my favorite kind of mashed potatoes are like the like catered, like I don't know if they're whipped or like what, but like those are the kind like that you normally get at like weddings and stuff like that. Those are the kind that I prefer, like banquet sort of mashed potatoes. And I don't know why I've never really been able to like mimic it totally, so that's what I think they are. I do have a really good, it's an old recipe from like a what's it called, Taste of Home magazine, that's like, I think it's sour cream and cream cheese mixed into the mashed potatoes, which is also how my aunt makes them, which is why I like them, because they are very flavorful. But the texture of, like I said, like the banquet sort of ones, and I don't know, maybe they just add a bunch of butter to the potatoes, I have no clue, but like it's like it has to be mixed into the potatoes. Like just putting it on the top, it doesn't really taste that great, like, you know, if it's not mixed in with the potatoes. So like I said, my aunt normally makes really, really good potatoes, but I think my absolute favorite would have to be like the banquet. Like I said, I don't really know what it is, but I know that I've had it at a couple weddings now, and I was like, these are like catered potatoes. Like, I gotta know how they make them. And I think maybe they're whipped, like, sort of, or something like that. Like, they're not, they do seem sort of fluffier, but like my potatoes sort of seem like they have the same texture, and I don't do that. It's just like I don't know what they add to them. Maybe I should look this up and then figure that out and make them at some point, because that's my favorite way of having mashed potatoes. But again, I can't eat it for a whole meal, and when you're a vegetarian on Thanksgiving, there's not a lot else that I feel like you can eat. Like we have like turkey, Green bean casserole, which I love, and I can eat that. Stuffing is hit or miss sometimes, depending on what type of stuffing it has, and if it has like, you know, any, you know, certain types of flavoring and stuff like that. If it was cooked inside of the turkey, like, then it has all the drippings, I can't have it. If it's made using like stock, like or not vegetable stock, like any type of like chicken or turkey stock, or, you know, broth, whatever, I can't have it then. And so normally I pass on it anyway, like, unless I know that I made it, just because it's sometimes hard to like know exactly what somebody else added to it, especially stuff that sometimes people don't think that they can't add. They're like, oh, it just doesn't have meat in it, you can eat it. Like, I can't still sometimes. So that, and then we do like a lot of times like some type of vegetable, like other type of vegetable. Like my mom likes corn. I don't know that we're doing corn, like just like steamed, like frozen corn, my mom loves. And also too, I don't know if it's just like a Thanksgiving thing that she loves it for, because we never wind up, we have bags of frozen corn and she never just like makes it with dinner. So I don't know if it's just a Thanksgiving thing, but I only learned this a couple of years ago, or maybe it was last year too, when she was like, you have to have steamed frozen corn for like Thanksgiving. And she talked about it this year too, but like I said, I don't know that that's what we're having. You know, but a lot of times it's like some type of just like frozen sort of corn or vegetable or whatever. And then I'm trying to think again, like the turkey, the gravy, the mashed potatoes. I think that's literally it. Honestly, most Thanksgivings what's on my plate is mashed potatoes and like green bean casserole, and depending on like if there's like another like vegetable sort of thing, which is why like last year, or no, maybe not last year because we did it here, maybe it was like 2 or 3 years ago or something like that, I made the vegetarian pot pie, which was just like vegetables inside of it. My uncle apparently really loved it because he went back for seconds, I remember. And I made it sort of like for me and my cousin, and like it was pretty good, honestly. I remember one time I made one with leeks, and I never had leeks before, but it was so stinking good, this like recipe that I used. And I didn't think that the one I made for Thanksgiving that year really compared to it, and I think that I should have won with that one. And I honestly didn't think it was that good of a like vegetable pot pie, but like everybody was like, oh, can we have some, can we have some? I was like, yeah, sure, like, you know, because I just made one, it was sort of for me and her, and I was like, I just wanted one slice, so I had something that was like sustainable food. And so, you know, after that, like everybody else was like, oh my gosh, this is so good, you know, either they were just telling me that or it actually was. But like I said, when people go back for seconds, that's when you know that it was probably actually good. And that was the same thing too. Like honestly, all of my recipes too that I use are really just old recipes from Pinterest that I've like, I sometimes don't really think that they're that good, like I don't know. And then I get again people that are like, oh my gosh, this is so good. I brought something else a different time, maybe to my cousin's birthday like a couple of years ago or something. It was like a quinoa Tex-Mex like one pot sort of thing or something like that. I don't remember what it was, but it was, I thought normally was always really good. And I thought that one was, I thought it was just a little spicy, and I was like, I prefer it to actually be spicy, but I thought I added less like spice, sort of like it was gonna be less spicy. And I realized that I was like, once I was eating, I was like, oh my goodness, this is spicy, what do I do now? And then I was like, you know what, my mom was like, it's not that bad. Normally my mom is like, cannot handle anything spicy, so that's why I was like, okay. And then I was like, I kept apologizing to everybody. I was like, I'm sorry it's so spicy, and they were like, no, it's so good. And I was like, are you being serious? And then people went back for seconds, and like I said, that's how you know whether or not it was good, because they could just eat what's on their plate or not eat what's on their plate. But if they go back for seconds, that's when you definitely know like they probably did actually like it. And so like I said, that was like one of the, you know, things that was probably eaten the most in the party. I remember, I think I came home with a clean, like, or maybe like one little serving like left over for myself as far as leftovers went. And again, like normally that's why like I'll make something for like me and my cousin to, you know, have when we're there, like at parties and stuff like that, especially if it's like a meat food sort of thing. And it's not like Thanksgiving, you have a lot of sides, so obviously again, like we could probably do like vegetables sort of things and stuff like that. And you know, again, like mashed potatoes, and Jack's gonna bring the mac and cheese, so we have that. But like for other parties where it's like, oh, we're having like Italian beef or something like that, it's like that is just meat. Like there's not, you're not gonna substitute that in another way. So that's why it will normally wind up, you know, like where I'm like, oh yeah, I can bring something, you know. And so I guess everybody likes it sort of when I cook. That's the thing too, is that like when you like, I feel like it tastes better. Like, to me, I'm very critical of the way stuff tastes. Like, when I cook it and I'm like, oh, that was not good. Like, oh, I have to do this different next time or whatever. And I feel like a lot of times though, it's like if you weren't the one that cooked it, it just tastes better. So like maybe that's why. Like for me, like because I cooked it, it doesn't taste as good, but everybody else was like, we didn't have to do any work, so it tasted amazing. You know, that's the whole sort of thing. It's like I put my blood, sweat, and tears into that, you know, like dinner that I ended up making, and you know, and it doesn't taste good, and everybody else is like, we just showed up, it tasted really good. You know, we didn't have to do any of the work. And normally I'm starving at that point too, like from having to like make stuff or whatever. And so that's why I'm like, I'll just eat anything at this point. I'm like hungry enough too. So anyways though, guys, yes, I had some apple cider, some hot apple cider today, because we got those 2 gallons. Well, we got the 1 full gallon and a half gallon, and I wanted to save it for Thanksgiving, but since we won't be here, and I think my aunt's making something too, and like for Thanksgiving, like I thought she said like something apple something, and so I think that we won't need it. And I was like, well, I guess we could use it for like the weekend after, sort of like do hot chocolate and apple cider for when we do all the decorating, because we'll be outside and stuff like that. But oh my goodness, guys, it was so refreshing, so warm too, because I drink cold coffee, so I never have like hot coffee in the morning, so nothing like warms me up. I'm normally cold all day, and I feel like if I just change something and be like, I'm gonna have something warm, like a warm drink, then I would probably like not be so cold throughout the day, like because I was very warm for like the couple hours after I had it, and then I was cold again. But and I was cold before it. But yeah, so anyways, we've got decorating too. Like I said, we're gonna probably do it the weekend after Thanksgiving, which is when we normally do it. But anyways, guys, I will see you all in tomorrow's vlog. If you guys did enjoy today's, make sure you guys give it a big old thumbs up. If you guys are new, I'd love if you'd subscribe, and I'll see all of your sunshiny pieces tomorrow. So bye, guys.